Hello, my name is Greg Vale. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about winterizing your Apimaye beehive. I'm going to do this in a few different parts. This is part one. Today I'm just going to talk a little bit about the bottom board and how to deal with the screened bottom board in your Apimaye hive for winter. There are a lot of places where you're going to read that people talk about really ventilating their hive from their bottom board and then putting a pencil in the lid to let air flow out the top. That sounds like a plausible idea in some areas out west where they have real mild winters, in California or down south where winter lasts about 2 weeks long and that's it. Here in Iowa, last winter it got 30 below zero for the low one day. That was the actual temperature, not wind chill. The high for that day was 17 below. It was 10 to 15 below zero, steady for at least 100 hours straight. Under those kind of conditions, letting cold air into your hive that's 30 degrees below zero to go all the way through your hive and vent out the top seems like a really stupid idea to me. Bees can regulate the temperature up a certain amount, 30, 40 degrees or so, but trying to get your hive temperature from 30 below up to about 70, that's like a 100-degree difference. I don't think it's going to work very well. So I'm not a big believer in ventilating hives. I know that bees out in the wild, they live in an old dead tree in a hole and they will propolis the lid and everything totally, completely, so no air goes out the top. Bees in the wild use about 20-25 pounds worth of honey to make it through the winter. These people that talk about ventilating their hives, they also talk about needing an entire super, about 70 pounds worth of hive or honey to get their bees through the winter. Well, that's because their bees are using a lot of honey to create a lot of heat to try to get through. So I'm going to talk about the winterizing of one of these bottom boards a little bit. I myself live, in town. This is a backyard beehive, so I can see my hive a lot and know what's going on with it. One of the first things I do is I tape out these vent holes that are in the bottom of this tray so that the air that would go through there all summer can no longer suck up into there. If I was a beekeeper that had an apiary and I had a lot of these and they were miles away, what I would do is I would fill the edge of this thing with, a polystyrofoam or some type of an insulator to completely close this space off. To me, this is a space that cold air comes through the holes in the front of the hive. It sucks directly down into the bottom because that's where cold air goes, and then of course as it mixes with the hot air it's going to create a lot of condensation. So I like to make sure that this is gets sealed up all the way around the bottom of the hive. As winter comes in, I don't want a bunch of cold air going into my bees through the winter. Another thing that I can do, because I live in a backyard, underneath the bottom of this to kind of control or offset some of the cold air, I can put what we call a small animal heater pad. And the exact name of it is a small animal heater pad. This thing, if you got to this, you could put your face on it after it warmed up and it would feel a little bit warm. So this is about the equivalent of me or somebody with some bigger hands than I've got putting their hands on the bottom of your hive 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not going to be enough heat that it's going to heat up your hive. It's not going to be enough heat that it's actually even going to help your bees create temperature to keep their hive warmer. All it will really do is reduce the amount of heat that can, leave outside of the hive. So it's creating an insulation. I wouldn't suggest like a back heating pad. Those things get really hot and cause problems. This thing, I stuck a temperature deal on it. It gets to be about 88, 85, 88 degrees, somewhere in there on the surface top of it. The other thing that I do to winterize this bottom area, once I have that all sealed off and have it warmer there, is I get some of these sacks, usually the hardware store ones because they're thicker, not the grocery store ones because they're thinner, and I take some of these sacks, I put cotton clothes in them, and then I'll tie them up so they're sealed, and I stick them in the holes of my cinder blocks here to stop all the airflow going through in this, which is something it takes a little while to do to get them all filled, get the backside with a big garbage bag. But I essentially seal up the entire bottom of this, and then in another video I'll show you in the end how I'm gonna wrap the whole hive for the winter, and how I'm gonna seal it up for a windbreak and some of these other kind of things. This is part one that's just about the bottom board. My next one will be part two. I'm gonna talk about how I'm gonna put a super on and create a what they call a quilt box for the top of my hive. My name is Greg Vale. This is winterizing your bottom board with an Apimaye beehive. Thank you. Have a nice day.